Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Boss Rush, where we stream live right here on LinkedIn and out to our YouTube channel every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. My name is Chris Melasinos, and I'm the principal evangelist for AWS, for video games at AWS, not for AWS, the principal evangelist for video games at AWS. So, yeah, but I'm here with my co-host, one of our co-hosts, Dean Takahashi. Dean, how are you today, buddy?
Very good. I'm Dean Takahashi, I'm not lead writer anymore. I'm editorial director for GameSpeed, and help put on the GameSpeed events. Next one, we're going to do one in Seattle briefly on the day of August 28th, ahead of PAX West.
Oh, excellent. And so glad to have you here, Dean. And we were going to have Susan and Mark joining us. Mark will be joining us a little bit later in the program. Susan had something that came up she needed to go ahead and take care of. So family first, go ahead and get all that stuff done. And we'll see you next week, Susan. So hope you have a lovely weekend. And yeah, Dean, good to see you, buddy. Like I was saying before we went live, you sound a whole lot better than last week. So I know with allergies and everything else, it's
that was pretty bad.
But you had that sexy radio voice, that Dean After Dark voice. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, while we're waiting for Mark to jump, we can go ahead and get started and jump right into some big news. Dean, we want to hear what's kind of top of mind for you. For those of you that are listening, if you have any questions for any of us, please go ahead and pop them into the chat on YouTube or LinkedIn, and we'll go ahead and get to them and let us know what you think are the most important news stories that we should be discussing, or if we have the wrong takes on stuff, let us know that too. All right.
Well, you had some fun podcasting news yourself. What's going on there?
Yeah. So we launched when I say we. All right. Let me take a quick step back. So, Larry Herb, better known as Major Nelson to the Xbox community for, my goodness, 20 plus years. He and I finally got connected in the autumn of last year. And we'd seen each other at conferences, and, the industry is big, and, hey, how are you? But we never really sat down. We sat down to talk and found out, oh my goodness, like our trajectories, the way we look at the games industry, the kind of work we've done for so many years, just kind of overlapped. And then we also realized, well, we're kind of on the same mic, kind of have the same headphones, kind of wear the same type of glasses, like all of these things. And we said, man, it would be really good to start a podcast that focuses on, that comes from, an industry perspective, but is really kind of focused on Gen X and Gen Y gamers, because we just don't have a lot of that out there. So we said, we kind of milled around and thought about a new podcast to start. And then finally we said, look, we can just keep trying to plan, or we can go ahead and do it, right? So we started a brand new podcast that we call Professional Doppelgamers. And I mean, you can see the picture right here, and the comments that we got right on X was everything from Star Wars memes of going, oh, now there are two of them, right? To I'm seeing double, there are four Larrys there. And so it was just really a wonderful way to kind of go and start this completely unscripted, first episode where Larry and I kind of talk about our backgrounds, talk about the stuff that we're passionate about. And so, we're going to be firing this up. We don't have a set schedule yet. We're still in the process of putting all those pieces together. But we wanted to get something in the can and get it out there. So Professional Doppelgamers, we are going to be focusing again on the broader community of game players. We'll mix in some game history. We'll talk about, we'll have opinions, right, on kind of where the industry is going. But I'm really excited to be doing this with Larry. So
that's huge. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would have thought you guys would have gone all the way retro, but it's something of interest to Gen Xers and Gen Zers.
Exactly right. Well, part of it too is, I'm sure you get this too, Dean, with people in your life of going, oh, well, my kids keep playing. How do I get them to stop playing Roblox? It's like, well, why don't you try playing? And maybe here are a few things that you should look at that may align with the things that you like. So it's not just about, and it's not just about getting people into play video games. It's about the culture of it, why games are important to us, growing up. And it's marrying that and merging that, the growth of the industry and where it started to where we are today and wanting to continue to play. Right. And so, so I'm super excited about it. Larry is awesome and obviously a consummate, on-air personality. So I'm so pleased to be doing this with him. So, a lot more to come on that. But professional doppelgamers, that's who we are. So thanks, Dean. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Awesome. Let's see what any news you wanted to start with this week.
I want to hear what's on your brain this week. So let's go ahead and start with you. I have some news articles up. Let's see if what I picked aligns with what Dean picked.
Well, I saw lots and lots of material this week on Battlefield 6. Sadly, for those of us actually going to this event, the news would better have broken next week. But EA released the first trailer on July 24th for Battlefield, and it looks amazing. It is going to be a huge release coming this year. Insider Gaming figured out that one of the rumored dates looked pretty real because it was part of a end user agreement that was attached to one of the things that EA put out, and then it was excised fairly quickly. But October 10th looks like it's the likely date according to Insider Gaming. It looks just amazing with all of the destruction in the environment. Very intense looking single player campaign. EA has said that they're going to release the multiplayer reveal information on July 31st. So Los Angeles next week, a bunch of the creators are going to get to see this up close and personal. And Battlefield is coming, and so is Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which is going to be revealed at Jeff Keighley's opening night live on August 19th at Gamescom.
Wow!
So lots of shooter fan things coming up.
Well, I was going to say, as our resident first-person shooter aficionado, right? That's high praise coming from you. So we're always eager to hear, what you have to say on that subject. But I shouldn't say that it's just you. Let's go ahead and welcome into the podcast our other co-host, Mark Delora. So there he is.
Did you see that Battlefield trailer? Oh my God. Hey.
Yeah.
What's happening? Who are you?
I am Donald J. No, I am Mark Delora. Hey, how's it going? Mark Delora.
Hey, how's it going, Mark Delora? Good to see you, buddy.
I had better weeks, to be honest, but I'm happy to be here.
I know. We're happy to have you here, right? Friends jumping here. We had some people that started popping up into the chat here. Eric Gene Weiss said, stopping by to say hi before jumping on to another meeting. Looking forward to Call of Duty. So, yes, we're looking forward to it too. So, all right. Well, Mark, it's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
All right. We just wrapped our Call of Duty. Go ahead.
Oh, we can have some comic relief today here.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
I'll take it. All the comic relief you can
right.
give me. I'm here for it.
Yes, good news, everyone.
Mark new audio. Woo!
And I've got this one I've got to play for you. Here you go.
What an awful question.
That is our very good friend RJ Michael during a game night that I hosted, and I managed to isolate some of his clips of him laughing and saying things like,
Awesome.
What an awful question.
What an awful question.
I miss him. I haven't seen him forever.
Well, excuse me.
Okay. All right. Enough of the soundboard. Let's go ahead and keep this train a-rolling.
Let's see. I'm curious more to hear about what Mark thinks about the America's AI Action Plan released by Trump White House this week.
Well, I will admit I was prepared to hate it
Mhm.
because, I was not, to be honest, I was not a great fan of the Biden AI executive orders and direction, but there were good things in there, and there were some nice guardrails in there that I thought were good, and so I was prepared to have very similar reactions to Trump one, but in the opposite direction. Um, and yeah, it's the thing. I think what's really interesting about it. So it does take down a lot of the guardrails. Probably takes down too many of the guardrails with the intention of accelerating AI adoption in the U.S., AI innovation, the design of larger data centers, blah 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 blah. Mostly, I think that's a good thing. I have lots of opinions about it, but mostly I'm down for it. My biggest concern about it was that the whole, if you read through it, it's really presented in the guise of like it's all the same policy stuff we see from this administration. Everything is like, we're removing DEI and we're removing climate change and we're removing it from every document. It's like, and that's in this document too. I'm like,
in the name of free speech, right?
in the name of free speech. I don't understand. Yeah. They're like, like I think I mentioned, like one of the things that drove me a little bonkers was this idea that the models have to be free from ideological bias, except for American bias. American bias is okay.
Yeah.
Like, they have to represent American values. I'm like, didn't you just say you didn't want it to be biased? Like,
Not only
okay,
not
well,
biased, how do you separate writing from bias?
how do you separate bias from anything in a model? A model is like, it's all bias. That's what a model is.
Right.
Right? Is it the bias that you like or the bias that you don't like?
Tobias. Oh, I don't like Tobias either. Oh, no, that's a different thing.
I mean, there's a reason.
There is
like
also, I guess, some strong reaction on the IP side. I guess where is the requirement that AI companies that are ingesting all of the data somehow compensate those that they're taking the data from, like entertainment properties, IP owners, copyright. Not much there. And then I think Trump also said that in an interview that it's I think so hard to deal with, I guess. So
no, and we should definitely not do it.
So let's not even try.
But admittedly, like, this is that particular philosophy of not needing to compensate people for their use of their data as input is not uncommon in other regulation in other countries. I think, I mean, there's no settled anything here yet, but it seems a little bit like there's a move toward the output being the thing that you put constraints on, not the input. But we'll see where it all nets out. Yeah, it's interesting. I spent quite a bit of time going through it, and honestly asking some LLMs to summarize parts of it for me and highlight things that it thought I might find interesting. It was like I said, I only hated the part that you'd expect me to hate. There was a lot that I really liked in it. So, we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah. And
who is this Mark DeLaura, and what have you done with our Mark
I know.
DeLaura?
Every once in a while, I take a deep breath and I'm reasonable instead of reactive.
No, buddy, you're awesome. Don't even do that.
Policy. It's always important. Policy, politics, separate things.
That is very true, and important to keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
So another piece of news was Intel reported their earnings. This whole earnings season's getting going now, and for the second quarter, they hit their $12.9 billion revenue target, but they also said that their headcount in the next year is going to be going down to about 75,000. They were at about 125,000 this time a year ago. And they are now at 101,000, or is it 104,000. And that means 33,000 more jobs at Intel are going to disappear in the coming months here. And that sort of gives you an idea of the scale of, efficiency they're seeking and cutbacks and hard times that what used to be the world's biggest chip maker. They're going through right now, and yeah, it's competition from AMD and from NVIDIA that's causing a lot of hurt. And when you're the company that is betting on owning all of your semiconductor factories and your product design falls behind, you have a lot of empty factories that you have to deal with.
Yep. Yep.
So they're not necessarily empty, but yeah, they're starting to make chips for other folks,
which is probably smart.
They, speaking of sort of, goals with national importance attached to them, I think, Intel is a very strategic company for the U.S. And if they have such hard times, then manufacturing chips in the U.S., good luck with that. They're almost the only ones.
And I never really found out what happened. So the Intel was a big recipient of CHIPS and Science Act related funds when that went through. But one of the first groups of people to get cut when the Trump administration came in was the staff that was administering the CHIPS and Science Act. So I think some of that might have gotten rolled back, but I know that and it was still a big conversation. Do we keep this thing or do we jettison it? Yeah. So I wonder how much Intel is getting bit by that, or if they've been able to maintain. But it's just the space has gotten so hot, and geopolitically as well with TSMC, and trying to invite TSMC to make fabs here in the U.S. It just takes a long time.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I'm rooting for Intel. I mean, use their chips for ages and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
competition is good too. Yeah.
Actually, what I was thinking is it's interesting that we're having that conversation. We hope, of course, Intel, super important. Obviously, it's more than just processors, right? It's innovation, technology, and forward stuff, and the lab stuff that they do, and other chips and products and services, right, that span the continuum of computer technology, But I was just thinking about all of the the big swings that companies take to do stuff. And I was thinking about Larrabee the other day. And I was just like, oh my, because it was hot in my office. And I was like, oh, imagine if I had a Larrabee card in here. I don't know if our good friend Kim Pallister is watching. But it takes those really big swings and risks to go ahead and move that stuff forward. And we are in an age now of commoditized hardware, super fast processors, super cheap stuff, across the board. And finding your way through those changes are painful, right? For the companies, for the market.
Sort of reminds me that nothing is an institution. Like there's no guarantee that you're going to last forever. And one more example of that in Silicon Valley here, we still have the Palo Alto Research Center, which is where things like the computer mouse and ideas that sprouted the personal computer were born. But IBM just announced that the Almaden Research Center is going to be shutting down, and they're moving the people over to another IBM facility close by in San Jose. But that was a beautiful place up in the hills of San Jose. And many sort of innovations of Silicon Valley, were born there, and they had a lot of research on data storage, AI, quantum computing. They did the brain related chip work there.
Oh yeah,
and so I even remember talking to them about a better way to do desalinization, taking the salt out of seawater. And so, when you lose an institution like that, that's telling, I think.
Yeah.
So not the greatest news for something like Silicon Valley.
But I'm glad you brought up that, or rather talked about its history there. One of the things that we're going to be, that Larry and I are going to be discussing right on the new podcast too, are things like this, like talking about why these things are important. And one of the things that I remembered was, remember back during my Sun Microsystems days, and I had I would do a lot of, media work for the company too. And I remember sitting down with John Gage, who was the chief science officer, and we were talking about the forming of the company, right, which stands for Stanford University Networks. And you go back and you kind of look into that. He was like, yeah, we were kind of looking around the valley here, and there was this company called Atari. And they were the fastest growing company in American history. And we started looking at them going, like, what are they doing? Now, as far as I know, there were no hot tubs or anything like that at Sun Microsystems, right? But it is so interesting to think about the impact that games and game companies, those tech companies, have this kind of, again, ripple effect or this echoing ripple of innovation, of technology, of progress, that it's important to remember, like where we came from, those things that brought us to where we are today, and how we don't replicate the mistakes of the past. All right, and I'm done with that. So,
No, we don't replicate the mistakes of the past. I think all we do is replicate the mistakes.
Yeah, because it's a lot easier to say no and not change than it is to say yes and take a risk and change, right?
Yeah, or just loop, like people make mistakes and then they leave the company, and then people don't learn from the mistakes because the people who made them have left, and then you repeat them.
Yep.
Anyway, I think there's a conversation to be had, which is not for us, of around the growth and reconstriction of research and research funding in the United States right now, and where that is taking place. I think one of the things that I liked out of that AI policy was this push for open source and open weight data for models, which is great. What I wish it came with was a commitment of funds in some way through the National Science Foundation or someone like this. But a lot of research funding from our government is getting cut. So, so we're at.
Yep. Yeah. It didn't, I forget which country did it. They just had a completely open source model that they launched. Was it in like Sweden or Netherlands, something like that? There's something about that. But all right, let's go. Let's
games. Let's talk about games.
Swerve this car back to the games industry. Let's see.
We can talk about games, and we were talking about policy. Let's talk about games and policy. Did you see the UK Games Fund thing that said they thought they were going to generate between 30 and 60 million pounds productivity benefits because they have a countrywide games fund that is incentivizing things? So that is pretty awesome.
Oh, no, I hadn't read that.
Maybe some more countries should copy that. I think a lot of companies do something, or a lot of countries do something similar, actually.
Yeah, they added some folks, Nick Button-Brown, to the UK Games Council, I think, and I think sort of coincides with some of this announcement, I think.
Great. He's awesome.
Oh yeah, here we go. Mark.
Yay.
Okay, yeah.
So people have asked me why we're not doing something like this in the U.S., and I think usually the answer is when you have a system that is perceived as being thriving, you don't people aren't particularly prone towards incentivizing it more. Now, whether you want to say the games industry in the U.S. is thriving is a different conversation, but I think that's typically what gets thrown back.
Yeah, I heard somebody say though that there's no such thing as an institution, right?
Who was that? You're echoing here.
And yeah, when you when you expect to ride on your coattails, and then all of a sudden you find that you're not as competitive in the world as others are trying to be. That's interesting. And like Montreal for many years was offering all these awesome incentives. Some of that I think has started to change, but yeah, they were saying that their costs were about a quarter of the costs of starting a game company in the US, right? And so they had a real target. They've grown to be one of the biggest game ecosystems in the world, and I think everybody should notice, and including the United States. And I think. I've been writing about Dubai recently for some upcoming stories, and they offer a lot of new things for people to have reasons to immigrate there. But but they are not offering as much on the incentive front as some of the other places, like say Saudi Arabia and Riyadh, and they have very nearby competition. Even Abu Dhabi is competition, and so you have to have this real confidence that you've built the right ecosystem to attract people. If you're not going to offer incentives when others are, right? So yeah, interesting that the UK is going to say, we are open for business and we want you here, and here's the money to prove it. Right?
Love to see it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. When we're talking about, actually, I'm going to rephrase this. Let's talk about some positive economic news around games. Rachel here had posted on GameSpeed that Bandai Namco reveals that Elden Ring spinoff and DLC have sold millions, which is great. Right. According to publisher Shadow of Erdtria sold 10 million copies, and recently launched action game Night Rain has sold 5 million. Noted that the original Elden Ring has sold 30 million copies so far.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How many people finished Elden Ring?
Oh God, no. I got to the first boss and went.
How many of the 30 million?
Somebody has those numbers. That's interesting. You're blowing my mind, because that is the different news, that Bandai Namco news, and what I saw, and
which was right here.
Yeah,
Sony one,
I was
right?
trying to read. Yep, I was thinking this was an interesting Sony Bandai Namco handshake, and that maybe it signaled that there were some troubles at Bandai Namco. But here's this other news that seems to indicate the opposite.
Yeah, no,
Interesting.
I would think that given the entire media ecosystem that a Sony operates within, right, getting closer to content that spreads across those things is probably a good thing, right? So if I'm reading here in the article from Rachel and the comment that they said in the statement, Bandai Namco and Sony will focus on expanding fan community for IP such as anime and manga around the world and strengthening engagement, particularly in the anime field where rapid market growth is anticipated, right? And Bandai Namco has a huge catalog of content that may lend itself very well to that. So I think it's a smart, plus a 2.5% stake. That's not going to be enough to, turn or sway the company. So be really interesting to see and learn more. But yeah, I thought that was great to see.
I also, had written about PwC's annual estimates of where the entertainment industries are, including the U.S. Game industry. And the focus on U.S. numbers is interesting because we've talked so much about how the U.S. has been weak compared to the rest of the world during a lot of this layoff crisis that's hit games. And what's interesting is that they're expecting pretty strong growth for the U.S. market of 6.8% compound annual growth rate over the next 5 years. It comes after the market shrank in the last year, right? So going from 62.8 billion to something like 87.4 billion. The whole world right now is about 187 billion, and the interesting thing about this is that the peak year for growth is going to be in 2026 at 11.5% growth. And then it goes back down to by 3.6% by the end of the period. And that's because of Grand Theft Auto 6. So it's adding something like $3 billion into the
right. So
the year.
Question
it took 2.7 billion out of this year, but 3 billion next year.
So the question is, if you kind of average down to the mean there, right? Cut off those big events there, right? We still show this, and not as steep, but still a growth curve, right? For these things, the money that is being patient and waiting because of Grand Theft Auto 6, factor that in, that peak, factor that out, and we still show a healthy growth. So it's the lesson here, kids, is to make sure that we don't just read any one of these economic, piece of information in isolation. We have to look at it holistically as a market, right? So, which is good,
interviewed the head of games there, David Reitman, and he had interesting predictions as well coming for AI in games, and he thinks that we're headed towards cost efficiency improvement of about 30% thanks to AI. And so for him, that means that in some ways that's going to lead to some cutbacks, but it's also going to lead to much greater profitability for the industry. And he believes that part is going to wind up creating a lot of jobs. More profitable companies tend to hire more people. That is interesting. He also noted that the U.S. is probably the biggest market to benefit from game advertising, and it makes sense that we're one of the biggest markets. We've also got the wealthiest people. Lots of people want to advertise to those people, and so it makes sense that the U.S. would be strongest in game advertising, and that he thinks PwC thinks that this is going to make a big difference in the growth rate.
All right, remains to be seen. Those numbers kind of melted my brain right now, so we're going to back to more approachable news for this.
There was another interesting launch of this Dead Take game this week from the actor Abu Bakr Salim, who's famous as the character Alan in House of the Dragon. And so he started Surgent Studios back in 2020. They made a game called Tales of Kenzera Zao, and it didn't do so well. Like they released it in March of 2024, and by July of 2024, they announced they had to do layoffs, and they were seeking money. They had a sequel to Zao that was set up and ready to get funded, but they could not raise the money for that game, and they were idling their staff as of like the middle of last year. But then in January, they announced that the Pal World folks, Pocket Pair, they funded a new title from them, and it was a horror game called Dead Take, which was announced this week. And is coming out very soon. It's like a 4 to 5 hour experience, live action game. It's coming out on Steam and the Epic Game Store on July 31st. So these folks across the course of 1 year went from idling their staff to actually shipping a game, and that was unexpected.
Yeah.
So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, very, very interesting sort of perseverance there.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, it's good to hear that.
And so there, the success of Pal World in the market, it was a surprise, and they were able to generate enough money from that to start a publishing business, and it's actually coming back to help the game industry. Right?
Okay. Very cool. Very, very interesting.
That sounds like what you say when you weren't listening to us.
I was listening to it. I listened to every word you said because you both are very intriguing and engaging co-hosts. As I'm also monitoring chat and audio levels and going, yes.
I know, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Right here. Just pull this clip in here.
You're busy over there. Thanks for covering that stuff.
I had another story that was fun for me, which was that there's a very brand new expo and conference coming, the Sim Gaming Expo, coming on September 5th through September 7th in Schaumburg, Illinois, near Chicago, all about simulation games and tech. It's like racing simulator rigs and flight simulator rigs, VR, esports, all kinds of sort of enthusiast gaming technology. plus a recognition that training and educational simulation is very closely connected to gaming, right? And so a lot of those vendors are going to be showing up at this, and it's one of those intersections between, say, the real world of training and learning, and how closely connected it is to games and game technology.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we've seen real world impact of like, people playing things like racing simulators, right? The Gran Turismo movie, which was based off a real story of somebody who played Gran Turismo in simulators and then was able to transfer at least the technical skills, but obviously not the physical skills, right? So there's only so far that you can take this stuff. What I do love about the image here on the article that you have, Dean, is I do a lot of 3D printing at home, and I've kind of stumbled into people making 3D printed like mounts and parts for at-home simulators. Right. And taking like, a Logitech standard control and then building all kinds of crazy button combinations and everything else on it, which I look at this and half of my brain goes, oh, that is just so awesome. And then the other half goes, which one's the fire button? That's the Gen X in me, right? So, no, I think that's awesome, and I just want to know what the swag is going to be given out at these conferences. Like, I'm happy to trial any of this thing for you if you want feedback. No, just kidding.
I was trying to remember who was in Schaumburg. There's like you said, Schaumburg, Illinois. And I'm immediately thinking there were game studios there, right? And there are probably people from those studios who were doing this. So I was like digging around. The only one I could find is Terraglyph. And that's been a while.
I don't know, but it's more like where they're expecting enthusiasts to show, and it's like a 65,000 square feet space. It's not gigantic, but got to start somewhere, I guess. Chicago's awesome. not a bad place.
No, it's great. Yeah, I wish I was closer.
Yeah.
That reminded me of this device. You all remember this thing, the Novant Falcon?
Right.
And you're like, you can feel the bumps on this golf ball, right? It's pushing back against you, and I love people that have experiences for the first time going, this is a joystick port or plug, like where do I plug that into modern PCs? Like you don't. So here's a little thing you can go build to interface with old serial devices and parallel printer. Remember device that connect to your parallel port? When the plug was heavier than the device itself. You all don't know.
Do I remember.
You don't know the struggle, right? That's why our guns, Gen X guns are so big. All right.
Speaking of old parallel ports, did you see this article about the source code from Final Fantasy Tactics being lost from 1997? 1997.
No.
So when they rebuilt, it's a PlayStation post about this just a few days ago about trying to rebuild Final Fantasy Tactics and realizing they didn't have the old source code because they'd overwritten it because people didn't keep stuff like that. They're like, what would I do with that?
Preservation is so freaking important. Companies need to when they leave your hands, they are no longer yours. They are part of the culture. They are part of society. It is important. If you don't want to maintain it, there are organizations that will do it for you at no cost to you. Let's make that an absolute thing that companies need to be doing. We have to protect this stuff. And I feel for the company. I feel for the developers too, right? This is like the old Carson tapes of the Tonight Show. We'll just record over these things because who's going to watch a rerun of this? Turns out it's important for history. So if you don't know where to go, contact me. I'm happy to help you find a place for your stuff to be preserved. So, Mark.
Another. Go ahead.
I think I have a sound for that. Oh no, not that one. Where is it? Oh no, I don't have it on this board. Womp womp. Okay, I'll have to get it. I've got the prices right.
Need a bigger board.
Boom. Yeah, I do. I need a bigger board for sure. All right, Dean, what's up next, buddy?
There was another story for Chris here, which was exciting. Palmer Lucky's Mod Retro. You know, they announced the Chromatic was back in stock a couple of weeks ago, and that's their sort of new version of the Game Boy Color handheld, and they take cartridges for that and everything. Now they've sort of reverse engineered and have something else coming called the M64, which is a clone of the Nintendo 64 coming. Again, probably under the notion that, you know, these came out so long ago now that the patents have expired. And they've been able to sort of redo the basic functions of these things in new hardware.
Right.
So they're going to be launching the M64 from Mod Retro pretty soon.
Yeah. So I think, my perspective, but I'm so glad you brought this up because I had this teed up for Mark, because when you talked about the patents running out, Mark's eyebrow went, And so, so I think I think anything that we could do to reconstitute systems that, have passed us by, making sure that we can preserve, making sure that we can continue to run that software and these things and get new generations to experience this stuff. That's great. And we have companies, right, that have been doing this for a while. Of course, there are certain systems like the Nintendo 64, the Sega Saturn that are notoriously difficult, right, to fully emulate. So it'll be interesting to see how they're doing it. I imagine it's FPGA based. But Mark, I'd love to hear your thoughts on something like this. And I mean, is it good? Is it like the complexity of doing this? You were there for the launch. You worked on launch titles for the N64. Tell us, Mark. Tell us all the details.
I want to see something like this. My first thought is
right up to the microphone, just like this.
Oh God! Oh God!
Go eat the mic.
I just think it's like painting a sue me sign on your forehead. But yeah, okay. Some people are gonna do that. Whatever. It's fine. Yeah, I remember conversations. I have a very vivid memory of conversations around how hard it would be to emulate the N64. So even as far as people have gotten, I mean, it's, well, I don't know, it's 99% emulated now, right?
Yeah,
the machines are a lot faster.
These guys have some credit of having done it for the Game Boy Color, right?
Right.
Yeah. They have a pixel perfect version of the Game Boy Color screen. So that's
I don't know how they're doing this, but it looks like they know what they're doing. So good job. As a fan / nerd, I love it, and I want to see more people play those games, and I want to be able to play those games, and I just worry that Nintendo people aren't going to agree, but hopefully there's a conversation happening.
Yeah, I think one of the things, like patents only last for 17 years. And you get the monopoly on your invention during that time. But a lot of companies figured out along the way, too, that by filing extensions and updates to their patents gave them a brand new sort of ticking of the clock, right? And so whenever they filed the last thing or the update, and these were often referred to as submarine patents that would come up and surprise people who were assuming that 17 years, was all they had to wait. I think Intel and a lot of other chip companies found that out when Gil Hyatt, came up with patents on the original microprocessor. Something that he had built a prototype of, but had never actually manufactured. Gil Hyatt got a lot of money out of that.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just, the legal shenanigans of all this are something I don't know anything about, and I just worry about constantly. And like, are you now running into copyright things? Are you trying to emulate software that publishers are going to come after you for? So I'm all questions on that front. I am no expert in that. But as a nerd / fan, like, somebody get Tetrasphere to run for me, because man, I miss that game.
Yes. All right. So here, real quickly, we're going to tie a little bit of game history. So gather around, kids. We're going to talk about this. Did you know? Okay, we're talking about these two things, right? One is patents, the other is copyright, right? So we've got these two different things. The copyright lasts a whole lot longer than patents do. And so, do you gentlemen know why Defender, the arcade game, is so important in the legislation that shaped clone PCs and how we can copyright things like a BIOS.
That's
Do you know this? All right, here you go. So there was a company called Franklin, the Franklin Day Planner. Remember that company, right?
Yeah,
They had made a computer called the Franklin Ace 1000. This was an Apple II clone. And it was superior in quite a number of ways from the architecture in the Apple II. And when they were brought to court eventually, because they basically said, look, we have to copy like the OS, the bootloader, because without it, like these don't work. And part of the argument was it's akin to like saying, I need a specific gear for a motor. You shouldn't be able to like copyright or patent the gear, because without that gear, then all these other motors that people want to build can't be used. And in the courts, the courts sided with Franklin. 2 weeks prior to the ruling, Williams had taken a company to court for making a ripoff of Defender. And what they were able to prove in that court was, or maybe it was 2 weeks after the initial one, so they went back on appeal. They were able to prove that the code on the chips, even though it was not accessible by the public, is copyrightable because it is the invention and differentiator for those things. So because Williams won that lawsuit for clones of Defender, it completely shaped the protection of things like BIOS for the computer industry, which then, of course, the Compaq, right, very famously, how they kind of, firewalled the different teams to go ahead and do it. All of it comes down to the ruling on knockoffs of Defender in the arcade. So once again, video games were instrumental in the shaping of every freaking thing that you use on the internet. So there you go.
Because everybody loves
game history of the day.
Nice. Woo! Today I learned.
There you go. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
That's going to go on my tombstone.
All right. What else do we have up here? So yeah, Dean, that was a good call out, the Palmer Lucky one. I thought this was another really good call out. Two here. Nintendo Switch 2 leads dizzying hardware sales turnaround.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Nintendo Switch 2 is now the fastest shipping game console in history, I believe.
Fastest shipping? So
yeah, more units shipped in the period of time than any other game console, including the PlayStation 4. So Nintendo Switch 2 sold 1.6 million units in June, the highest launch month unit sales for video games hardware in U.S. history. The previous high was 1.1 million units at PlayStation 4 during November 2013. Nintendo Switch 2 was June's best-selling video game hardware in both units and dollars, while PlayStation 5 remained the best-seller year to date across both measures. It is
Nintendo,
a juggernaut.
Nintendo said they sold 3 million, right?
Wow. More, right? Isn't it closer to 3.5 now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's a great machine. Right, a great little machine. I saw, there's different YouTube personalities that will like tear down hardware and stuff. Somebody said, well, Nintendo says don't take the film off the screen because that film is in place because the glass that they're using will shard and break up. Shard like MMOs. So if you need to, no. So they would shard and break into little pieces. So somebody basically peeled that off and then took a wrench and started banging on the screen. About 50 strikes before the screen actually cracked. And he's like, so if you're questioning the durability of this thing and you're watching me smack it with a wrench, he's like, this thing is built like a tank. Like it is designed for the long term. So
it just hurts me. It's like slapping your baby. Why would you do that?
I know. People are ridiculous. But
don't do that to your Switch too.
We honor that Switch 2 in service.
That's right. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Oh. Well, all right.
Did you see that Roblox launched an education hub? Roblox Learning Hub has launched.
Oh, no.
They also
I was going to show you this one. The Panda Express celebrates hot orange chicken in Fortnite and Roblox.
Yeah.
I like that one too.
Let's go.
But they also announced some interesting new sort of safety technologies. Like
I didn't see
one of them is this interesting age estimator. And so they ask you to take a 3D or a camera picture and send it over to them, and they will estimate what your age is. And so, like, if you're pretending you're like 17 years old and you want to get access to stuff, and then you send them a picture that looks like a 5-year-old, they're gonna go, try again, you know.
You need to just hold up. It's a 2D picture, right? Because you're doing it to your webcam. Why wouldn't you just like hold up a photo like that of
Don't give Sam
Yeah, I mean,
Altman any more
they-
ideas. Okay, man.
they do. It's kind of like one of those iPhone, pictures that's more like a video capture as opposed to, as opposed to just a still photo capture. And so they can tell the difference between a still photo you're holding up and your actual face, right?
No, I gotta go break it. It sounds a lot like the thing. There was a hot second where was it the ESA or the ESRB was talking about this technology? I think it was the ESRB had talked about like the idea of using this to do age verification, and there was some upset, and I think that
they also want your ID, and they also are using this to gate something like voice chat, right? And so if you're wanting to do voice chat, then you have to go through this.
Fair.
And they need your wallet code
and your DNA sample.
Exactly. So I have up here from Roblox, right? The Learning Hub. That's awesome that they're doing it. But what I love equally is the iPad frame they used is from this generation of iPad, which actually has a button on it. And kids today are like, oh, what's that? Your phone has a button on it? I got that old one, right? Yeah, this is the 64 gig, 32-bit iPad that I used during like retro game stuff to go, I can't play all those games, but I can play them on here. So
old one. Yeah.
We need to get some other graphics in the art department there to modernize
exactly
for you. But good, but in all seriousness, great to Roblox for continuing to do this. It's about discoverability. One of the things we talk all the time about, right, in the games industry is how do we surface things that are good for people that align with the things they want to do and help parents to help their kids make better decisions. So, it's great that they are taking that seriously and that they're building that forward. That's great.
Yeah. There was some other fun news from Manticore Games. It's run by Jordan Maynard and Frederick DeCamp, and they didn't talk a whole lot of, about things in their metaverse world core for some years now. And they did raise $100 million in 2021. And so one of the things they did with that, as the metaverse sort of, slowed down, they had built their core platform and they were, ready to move on to other things. And so they decided we're going to just make a game, right? And so they announced this game this week. It's called Out of Time, and it's a multiplayer roguelike, and it's not in the world of Core. It was built with Core, but it is not, say, gated behind their platform anymore. It's going to be on Steam and at the Epic Games Store, coming out on September 25th. And it's very, interesting use of the Core engine that they created, which, you start out with this lobby or hub, and you team up with other players and go into a battle. But the battles can sort of be in any time period, right? So it could be a medieval map, or it could be a current modern warfare kind of map, or ancient warfare map as well. And then the weapons sort of can come from any time period as well. So you could go into a medieval fight with a machine gun if you wish. And so very interesting. And then the players also, they're kind of connected as long as they stay close to each other, and they can buff each other with things like shields and other, sort of power-ups. And and so it sort of pays to stick together in this kind of battle. And it's a multiplayer roguelike, action roguelike game. And so it's not expecting this to be coming from them, because it's a huge pivot away from the metaverse, right? But the metaverse that they created became the platform on which they built this game, and they also have a lot of the sort of lore and backstory kind of related to the MMO. And then if this game is successful, then they can launch more of that. Later on, like your hub can be a place that has a bunch of marketplaces in it for you to buy stuff for your character, just like an MMO.
Yeah, the metaverse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's the problem, though, Dean. You mentioned taking a machine gun into medieval fight, so I just want the machine gun to fire broadswords. That's it.
Now you're talking.
See? We got ideas.
Yeah,
It sounds like Susan's
they're
game.
actually, part of that idea behind their metaverse was to let players build their own UGC, and so they have an editor that's coming that will allow players to create their own maps.
Yeah, that's
assuming
very cool.
that eventually leads to players creating their own stuff too,
Mhm.
right? So you can create that sword machine gun yourself.
Oh, see?
There you go. Get on it.
Yes. All right. New business. There we go. We're firing it up every week here. Speaking of metaverse, you had another article up here, Dean, about RP1. And says the metaverse needs its own browser. I've had the chance to get to know Sean Mann over there at RP1. He had shared with me that part of the idea around doing RP1 came from a lot of the clubhouse meetings that we were having at the beginning of COVID. And we were kind of talking about, a bunch of us in rooms kind of talking about how we can use these open, browsers and open APIs and things like that as the portal into all of these things. And they went out and they built this thing. I've had the chance to experience it. This is a really long and very well detailed article. So I recommend people go ahead and actually, read through this and listen to the videos and stuff that are in there. But they basically built this kind of infinitely, quote unquote, scalable space that you exist in, where each one of the worlds or environments are actually pieces that can be stitched together to create. So when you're looking out at the distance, at the horizon, you're not seeing one environment. You're seeing environments that are informed by stitching together all these environments that are using a web methodology to interconnect. And it is the feeling of expansiveness and height, and you can go anywhere you want, is pretty extraordinary. In the demo that they walked me through, we walked into this one hidden like Hogwarts room, and then he was like, all right, raise your hands. It's all in VR. And he's like, now hit the accelerator, and you just blasted right out of the atmosphere of the Earth that you're on, and anything that you could see, you could go to, like in the universe. And it just happened instantly, seamlessly, without any, loading this or an interstitial to try to hide loading. It was pretty amazing. So definitely check it out. They're doing some pretty awesome stuff at RP1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. So I know
There
we're
was
coming up
one-
to the end
one
of the
more.
hour here, but let's go.
Sorry. One more quick company would be Theorycraft Games launched Supervive 1.0. And, by comparison to the $160 million raised by Manticore, Theorycraft only raised $83 million. But they've been waiting for years to get to this point, and they've got their action, almost mobile-like game that is now live. And so a lot of those companies that say in the heyday of games venture capital raised a lot of money, all those games are starting to finally land, and we'll see how well they do. If they do well, then we're going to have Game VCs 2.0 coming up, right?
Yeah, that's
if,
right.
If they don't do well, then well, it was a good try.
Yeah, but that paltry 87 million.
Wow.
Which, I mean, look, in the current landscape, for a studio with this talent, this type of pedigree, this type of game, this type of scale, that is pretty extraordinary, as well. They're trying to make deep 10,000-hour games that are better played with friends.
Oof. Oof, oof, oof.
10,000-hour games.
It's a big swing.
Mm-hmm. It is a big swing. I don't know how many years, 10,000 hours.
No, but you can become a master. I know that in 10,000 hours.
There you,
No.
there you go.
That's
Or
been-
we can
that's been
get a
debunked.
bunch of agentic bots to play your game.
play 9,500 hours, then I can play the other 500 myself.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Uh-oh, it's 10:30. That means I have to jump to another call.
All right. So
but
before
I'm not
you
playing
jump to the
anything
call,
anyway.
well, yeah, you got to tell us. Is there anything that you're playing that you want to
No.
share with us?
I'm playing the
Game of life.
family health crisis game of life game. But I'll get back to real life games soon.
Yeah, buddy. Well, we're thinking of you all, and
buddy.
of course,
Nice to see you guys.
it's great to see you too, Mark. And I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm gonna bounce.
All right, you bounce, Dean, and I will close
Have
it
a good
out.
weekend, guys.
All right, see you. So, Dean, what are you playing, my friend?
Mine's getting a little old here. I didn't really get that much game time this week, but I am still playing Death Stranding 2.
Oh, very good. Very good. Have you picked up the new Donkey Kong game for the Switch 2 yet?
No, but my colleague Mike Minotti is almost done with it, and I think he's got thoughts coming in some kind of review.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I just picked it up. I haven't been able to play but for more than a few minutes, but I'm looking forward to kind of digging in there. But there are two other things that I thought were really cool. One was this. Oh, Lego just launched the Game Boy Lego set for $60. It's coming on October 1st, though I do believe that they said it was sold out.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah. And of course, what I love is people seeing it going, oh, it doesn't really play? No problem. We'll go mod that thing and make sure that we can that we can play it. So I am looking forward to picking up one of those. And a Kickstarter that I had back actually shipped, and it's the Space Invaders watch, which I'm wearing right here on my wrist, and it's got these lovely Space Invader themed lovely character animations, and you can actually play Space
I
Invaders.
wrote about this, guys.
on
I
the
wondered
watch.
when it was coming, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
You
they
got
shipped it out, and we got multiple bands. My wife's like, with that paisley shirt, please just keep the solid color band on, because it's way too many colors for you. But yeah, gonna go back and play some more Donkey Kong and more Space Invaders on my wrist. So, but that's about it for this week. I want to thank my co-host Dean Takahashi for joining us today, and our co-host Mark Delora for joining us. Susan couldn't make it, as we said, but we're gonna hopefully have her back next week. And with that, that'll take us out. Dean, hope you have a wonderful weekend. And
thank
everybody,
you.
thanks
Awesome
for
show.
joining. Thank you, buddy, and thanks everybody for joining us. Make sure you go ahead and repost this stuff to your feed so we get more people joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day and an awesome weekend. We'll see you next week on Boss Rush. Bye.